Reed Holden was halfway through his first shower on an alien world when his landlady walked in and mistook his anatomy for a baby sandworm. Stars above! Her emerald hand flew to her mouth. Human male, why do you have a mini Shai-Hulud between your legs? Reed yelped, hands flying to cover himself as hot water cascaded over his shoulders. What the? Don't you knock? The woman, Qix'ala, his landlady, stood framed in the doorway, utterly unfazed by his nakedness. Her amethyst eyes studied him with scientific curiosity, her seafoam hair tumbling over one shoulder of her shimmering tunic. She tilted her head, those strange reptilian scales along her cheekbones catching the light. "Is that normal for your species?" She stepped closer, peering at his groin with the detached interest of a researcher examining a specimen. "It looks rather vulnerable, like a juvenile creature, coiled and ready to strike." Reed's face burned hotter than the twin suns outside. "It's called a penis, and yes, it's completely normal. Now, can I please have some privacy?" "Privacy?" Qix'ala blinked, genuine confusion crossing her alien features. "Oh, I forgot humans have peculiar taboos about bodily functions." She turned to leave, then paused. "Dinner will be served in half a rotation, Reed Holden." The door slid shut behind her, leaving Reed gaping at the space she'd occupied. He finished his shower in record time, his mind reeling. What the hell had he gotten himself into? 24 hours earlier, Reed had stepped off the shuttle with nothing but a duffel bag and a rental agreement for an apartment sight unseen. The price had been unbeatable, suspiciously so. Now he understood why. His landlady was gorgeous, curious, and had absolutely no concept of human boundaries. Over dinner that first night, Qix'ala leaned across the low table, her movements serpentine and hypnotic. The spread of alien delicacies between them smelled exotic and slightly hallucinogenic. "I must admit," she said, her voice like wind chimes in a storm, "I'm fascinated by what you said earlier about your reproductive organ." She pronounced the words carefully, as if tasting them. "You said it's used for creating offspring?" Reed nearly choked on his drink. "Yes, through a coupling." "Coupling?" Her eyes sparkled with intrigue. "You mean it's inserted?" Sweat prickled along Reed's hairline. This was going to be a long assignment. "That's generally how it works, yeah." Qix'ala leaned even closer, close enough that he could smell her, spices and something wildly alien that made his head spin. "How different from my people. Phyrexians reproduce through sacred dance beneath the 7 moons. The resulting energy merges our life forces to create new beings." "That's beautiful," Reed managed, "and much less awkward." Her laugh was genuine, warm. "Perhaps, but I find myself intrigued by human methods. Tell me, Reed Holden." "Just Reed." "Tell me, just Reed," her smile turned wicked. "Would you teach me more about human reproduction? I find myself endlessly curious about your exotic biology." The way she said exotic sent electricity down his spine. Reed shifted uncomfortably, all too aware of how her tunic draped across her curves, how her alien beauty seemed designed to short-circuit his brain. "Maybe," he said carefully, "but maybe not over dinner." The next 3 days passed in a blur of exploration and increasingly charged encounters. Qix'ala had a habit of forgetting about human modesty, walking in during his showers, appearing in his room wearing less and less clothing, asking probing questions about human anatomy that made Reed simultaneously aroused and mortified. "You know," she said one evening, her fingers tracing patterns on his forearm, "in my culture, this flirting you mentioned, it's considered an art form, a dance of words and touches, building anticipation." Her nail scraped lightly across his skin. Show me, Reed. Teach me how humans seduce. Reed's pulse hammered. Every oath he'd taken before leaving Earth, no romantic entanglements, focus on the mission, keep it professional, evaporated like mist. He reached out slowly, tucking a strand of seafoam hair behind her delicately pointed ear. His knuckles brushed her jaw as he withdrew his hand. Flirting is about teasing, he murmured, building tension. It's about the promise of what could be, if both partners are willing. Qix'ala's eyes darkened to deep violet. And are you willing, Reed? Before he could answer, an explosion rocked the building. Alarm shrieked. An automated voice announced, "Warning, hull breach detected. Seek shelter immediately." Raiders! Qix'ala grabbed his hand and yanked him toward a hidden panel in the wall. They tumbled into a cramped panic room just as another blast shook the apartment. In the darkness, Reed became acutely aware of every point where their bodies touched. The press of her breasts against his chest, the silk of her hair against his cheek, her quickened breath hot on his neck. "Are you all right?" he whispered. She tilted her head back, her face inches from his. Even in the dim emergency lighting, her eyes glowed. "I'm unharmed, thanks to you." The adrenaline, the fear, the weeks of building tension, it all crashed together. Reed cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. She made a sound deep in her throat, fingers tangling in his hair as she kissed him back with an intensity that stole his breath. Her mouth was hot and soft, her tongue dancing against his in a rhythm that felt both alien and achingly right. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, Qix'ala smiled against his lips. "To be continued," she breathed. They emerged from the panic room to find the apartment in ruins. Scorch marks marred the walls. Furniture lay overturned and shattered. "This was no ordinary raid," Qix'ala said quietly, surveying the damage. "They were targeting something, or someone." "What do you mean?" She shook her head, but Reed caught the flash of fear in her eyes. "I need to make some calls. You should contact your colleagues." Over the following hours, as they dealt with authorities and cleanup, Qix'ala grew increasingly tense. Reed watched her make hushed calls in her native tongue, her expression darkening with each conversation. That night, exhausted and rattled, they collapsed onto her couch. Reed pulled her against him, needing the solid warmth of her body to chase away the lingering fear. "I was terrified," Qix'ala admitted quietly. "When those explosions hit, all I could think was that I might lose you, just as we're discovering what we could be to each other." Reed tightened his arms around her. "I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure this out together." She looked up at him, vulnerable in a way he'd never seen. "Stay with me tonight? Just asleep. I don't want to be alone." They undressed down to underwear and slipped beneath cool sheets. Reed gathered her close, and they traded slow, tender kisses that soothed rather than inflamed. When sleep finally claimed them, their limbs were tangled together, two souls finding shelter in the storm. Reed woke to Qix'ala's weight across his chest, her face peaceful in sleep. He was just marveling at how right this felt when her eyes fluttered open. "Good morning," she murmured, voice husky. Before he could respond, she sat up abruptly, her hand flying to her mouth. "Reed, I need to tell you something. The raid, it wasn't random." He sat up beside her, instantly alert. "What?" "My ex-lover, Fox, he's a high-ranking government official here. Jealous, possessive, and very dangerous." Her voice trembled. "He must have discovered that I've taken a human tenant, that we've grown close. The raid was a warning, or worse, an attempt to eliminate you." Cold dread settled in Reed's gut. "You think he'll try again?" "I know he will." She turned to him, eyes fierce with determination and fear. "Reed, we need to leave Fex 5. It's not safe here anymore." "But your home means nothing without you." She grabbed his hands. "Don't you understand? You've become everything to me. These past weeks, falling for you despite every logical reason not to, I won't let Fox destroy that." Reed's heart swelled. Then we leave, together. But Qix'ala, he pulled her close, one hand sliding to cup the back of her neck. I need you to know something first. I love you, completely, impossibly. I came here sworn to avoid exactly this kind of entanglement, and instead, I found the person I want to spend my life with. Tears shimmered in her eyes. I love you too, my brave, strange human, with your peculiar modesty and your curiosity and your insufferable refusal to be intimidated by anything. She kissed him fiercely, even by many Shai-Huluds. Reed laughed against her mouth. Are you ever going to let that go? Never. She pushed him back onto the bed, her body covering his. But perhaps I should conduct a more thorough examination for scientific purposes. Qix'ala. Hush, consider it research. Her hand slid down his chest, and Reed stopped protesting. 3 days later, they stood before Fox in a traditional challenge arena, the twin suns blazing overhead. The government official was tall and imposing, his scales a deep jade that spoke of old bloodlines and older power. "Human," Fox spat. "You dare claim rights to Qix'ala? You're not even the same species." Reed met his gaze steadily. "Love doesn't care about species. I'm here to fight for her, and for us. Accept my challenge or step aside." The duel that followed was brutal, tests of strength, wit, and courage. Reed used every trick he'd learned, every advantage his human physiology offered. When Fox hurled boulders, Reed used his xenobiological training to shatter them with focused psychic pulses. When Fox presented impossible riddles, Reed solved them with lateral thinking that left the Phyrexian stunned. The final test required him to face his deepest fears. Reed closed his eyes and found not monsters, but a simple truth. His only fear was losing Qix'ala, and that fear gave him strength rather than weakness. When he opened his eyes, Fox was staring at him with grudging respect. "You've proven yourself, human. Your bond is true." Fox extended his hand. "Take care of her, and may your offspring inherit the best of both worlds." Reed clasped his hand, then turned to see Qix'ala running toward him. He caught her in his arms, spinning her around as she laughed and cried. "Let's go home," he murmured against her hair, "to Earth, to our future." "Anywhere," she whispered back, "as long as it's with you." Epilogue. 6 months later, Reed stood in their small house on Earth's colony moon, watching Qix'ala's reflection in the window. Her hand rested on the small swell of her stomach, their daughter growing inside her, humanity's first human Phyrexian hybrid. "What are you thinking?" she asked, catching his eye in the glass. Reed smiled, crossing to wrap his arms around her from behind. "I'm thinking about the day I met you, when you walked in on my shower and changed my entire life." Qix'ala laughed, leaning back against him. "Ah, yes, the infamous mini Shai-Hulud incident. Our future daughter will love that story." "Don't you dare." "Oh, I absolutely dare." She turned in his arms, eyes sparkling with mischief and love. "After all, if you hadn't had such fascinating anatomy, I might never have become curious enough to pursue you so relentlessly." Reed grinned, pulling her close. "So what you're saying is you fell in love with my penis?" "I fell in love with all of you," she corrected, then smiled wickedly. "But yes, that particular part did help capture my initial interest." As they stood there laughing, wrapped in each other's arms, with their impossible child growing between them, Reed reflected on the strange turns life could take. He'd come to Fex 5 looking for specimens and scientific data. Instead, he'd found home. And it all started with one mortifying, wonderful misunderstanding. The end. Did you enjoy Reed and Qix'ala's intergalactic love story? Like this story if you laughed at the mini Shai-Hulud moment. Subscribe for more sci-fi romance stories featuring awkward humans and curious aliens. What was your favorite moment in this story? Was it the shower scene that started it all? Their first kiss in the panic room? Reed's duel with Fox? The epilogue with their baby on the way? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. P.S. Share this with a friend who needs more alien romance in their life. Rocket pounds.